Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dark Sports Podcast. I'm 98. You can't see him, but my dad is looking at me funny. We're gonna move on. We're gonna get right into it with our first segment. We've got an addition to the It's Over list. Welcome, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals. So on the last episode, I was saying that I had already put them as a team whose season's over. You said that you wanted to see one more game, and you were saying that if they lost, they will move on to there. So you saw the Ravens and Bengals game. What's your reaction to that game?
Oh man, Isaiah Likely he's really really good from what I've seen, and also Lamar Jackson can stiff arm people now.
Yeah, I saw him stiff arm that lineman when he was trying to, get out to throw that last touchdown to Likely.
So that's pretty cool. And we've got Jamar Chase. He did pretty well.
He was going crazy. This was probably his best game of the season.
Him and Zay Flowers also had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But both teams' defenses just did not show up that game. We got a high-scoring overtime game, 41-38. Ravens win it.
That was crazy. I was just telling 98, that was probably the best game that I saw all year as far as like back and forth and scoring. Like you said, scores that high, defense was not the star of the game. That was kind of like a Super Bowl game. So something that's interesting about that game, though, is that similar to when Cincinnati lost to the Chiefs, Cincinnati played better than the Ravens for most of that game, but they still lost. NFL is not fair. Just like life sometimes. It is what it is. So we move them over. We're going to say that their season's over. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
I fully agree.
All right, so the Bengals do have one more chance. They get to play the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Waiting all day for Sunday night. What do you see happening in that game? Are the Bengals going to win or are the Giants going to win?
Bengals should win this.
Bengals should win this.
All
right.
This whole season has been pretty much the opposite of what I've expected. So, I actually don't know. The fact that I'm even considering this is bad. But
well, let's make a prediction. I will go for the Bengals in that game, only because the Bengals probably want to maintain some type of like dignity as a team. They played really hard against Baltimore. I don't see the Giants giving them that much trouble, but the Giants did win last week, so maybe they're kind of invigorated. But no, I'm going to predict the Bengals to win that game. Who do you got in that game?
I'm going to pick the Giants because why not? So.
You're going to pick the Giants. All right, well, since we're predicting, let's go on to the Monday Night Football game, which is going to be the Bills at the Jets. So the Jets is a team that I had last week as a team who is just on the verge of the season being over. And I think after what we saw in London against the Vikings, I think that it's over for them too. So Bengals are in both of our it's over list. Jets just moved into there. What do you think about the Jets for the rest of the season, 98?
Aaron Rodgers, he's good. He's not exactly what the Jets needed, right? When they got him. I think when they got him, they were like looking for like a deep playoff run at least.
Oh yes, they were talking about the Super Bowl. You remember on
Hard Knocks? Yeah,
they were talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were talking about the Super Bowl. But Aaron Rodgers, he is old for a quarterback.
He is. I think that when they bought him in last season was the sweet spot because he was still fresh from playing. Then he had that Achilles injury, so you got a 40-something-year-old quarterback who's not Tom Brady. And I watched that game. He's off. He's not as accurate as he was before. Did you hear the news today that they fired the coach? What's your reaction to that?
I feel like he's not the problem.
I don't think so either.
I feel like Robert Saleh is a decent coach. I feel like they shouldn't have fired him, but I can see why they did because they weren't winning. But yeah.
And they just wanted somebody to blame?
You gotta blame somebody.
Gotta blame somebody.
They're not gonna blame Aaron Rodgers.
No, they're not going to. So, Monday Night Football, Bills at the Jets. Bills lost. They should have won that game, but the Bills lost that game. What was the score real quick?
20-23.
Yeah, they lost to the Texans. They had that game. They messed it up. Do you see this as a revenge game? Bills at Jets? They're in the same division too, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, this is really a battle of mid.
Very mid. Bills have lost their last two games. Jets have lost their last two
I
games.
feel like Josh Allen is, at this point, Josh Allen is just straight up better than Aaron Rodgers. He can run better. So far in this season, he's been able to throw better. He's just better.
I agree with that. So I'm going to pick the Bills for that game. So we covered the Sunday night game, the Monday night football game. Let's just go back to the Thursday night, which is, I think it's going to be the Seahawks and 49ers. Is that right?
Yep, that is correct. Oh boy, 49ers.
Lost to the Cardinals. We were talking about that earlier, and it was like 49ers had a lot of yards, but they just couldn't get it in the end zone. And, it just shows you how much McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels, they're just key parts of that. McCaffrey usually is the one who gets the ball in the red zone because he can usually run or catch for a reception. So, yeah, you got two teams who lost. The Seahawks
Both games
lost.
they shouldn't have lost. The Seahawks lost. Definitely a game they shouldn't have lost, which was against the Giants. And that's, if the Giants lost that game, for that Bengals prediction, I would have been saying the Bengals. But, because they won, it's like...
Yeah. Seahawks and 49ers. We got to pick one. Tell me who you got and why. I'll go first. That'll give you time to think. So, on that game, I always tend to go with who has the better team, just because that's usually the best predictor that you have. Right now, I think the Seahawks are a better team than the 49ers. It's at Seahawks. Seahawks lost that game. They're still in the race. So I'm going to go Seahawks on that. That's why. Home field advantage. I think they're a better team right now, unless McCaffrey puts pads on tomorrow. I guess. No, that's not going to happen. So that's why. All right, what about you?
I'm going to have to say the Seahawks for this one. Just because they don't have McCaffrey and they don't have Deebo. So I feel like those are two big blows. And we might see a repeat of last week where they have a whole bunch of yards, but the moment they get into the end zone, they crumble because they don't want to use George Kittle for some reason. So.
Good job, 98. So we kind of did this a little bit differently than how we usually do. We usually do our predictions last for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. Let's go ahead and transition and talk about our favorite team, the Eagles. Eagles and Browns coming up. Browns at Eagles. It's a home game. Browns are terrible this year. Deshaun Watson, terrible.
They should have kept Joe Flacco.
Deshaun Watson, when he drops back, he's either going to get sacked
or throw an interception.
Throw an interception or maybe a pass for
5 yards.
Maybe 5 yards. That's it. Eagles have had 2 weeks to plan for this game after that beatdown by Tampa Bay, and they're coming off a bye. I haven't checked the injury list to see if any of the stars are back. By the stars, I mean A.J. Brown or Devontae. I am taking the Eagles in this game for that reason. They've had rest. They've had weeks to prepare, and the Browns are a bad team. At home, they should win this game, no problem.
They should, but remember... if the Eagles are going to be stubborn and play Jalen Hurts, which I personally think that after his performance in the past few games that he's played, he either should not be a starter or they should put Tanner McKee, the second string, who actually had a really, really good preseason, who I was surprised by as well.
Yeah, he did.
I feel like they should put him in for at least one drive to kind of wake him up and let him know that his job is on the line. Just because he got a bunch of money doesn't mean that he just doesn't have to play anymore.
I think if he comes out and he starts throwing one interception, I'd go ahead and just sit him down. Let's see what Tanner has, because you should be able to win against the Browns. No problem at all. That's what I think.
And the Eagles' defense, a bit rough in that first game, but these last few ones, they've really been picking it up. Jalen Carter putting pressure on every time. Brandon Graham in his last season, he's also doing pretty good. Reed Blankenship leading the team in interceptions with 2 right now. Good coverage on the corner with Quinion. Ringo struggled a little bit in his first few games, but then he had that blocked punt, and I think that really sort of put him in the zone, and he's been hard to throw on.
That block punt, by the way, was crazy. I'm a Kaylee Ringo fan. Yeah, that was crazy. I like that. So we're both going for the Eagles on that. Okay, and one more that I want to talk about is this game coming up on Sunday, which is going to be the Battle of the Beltways. This is going to be the Washington Commanders at the Ravens. This is when we have a chance to see, are the Commanders for real this season? Wow, especially after just watching Baltimore play that game. You go first, and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
All right. I feel like the Commanders might actually win this one because they're red hot. They've got a super high-powered offense, and from what we saw last game, the Ravens' defense is good but not great, and this offense is full-on spectacular from what we've seen. Jaden Daniels, if he keeps performing like this, or at least like maybe 75% of this, he might be one of the few players to win Offensive Player of the Year in their rookie season.
Very well said, 98. You got some good points there. I am going to go with the Ravens. Here's why. The Commanders have looked really good this year, but I think I'm not 100% sold on them. I'm probably like 75% sold on them. The Commanders were terrible last season, so that's why they've had a relatively easy schedule. The people that they've played have like a losing record overall. They haven't beat anybody who's had a winning record. That's kind of why I'm like, this is going to be the moment of truth where if they can beat the Baltimore Ravens at Baltimore,
or at least make it like close, then,
or at least make it close or competitive, then I'm going to be 100% on board with the Commanders. And although I am an Eagles fan, if they can beat the Ravens, I don't see why they don't have a good shot at winning the NFC East. I know that's crazy because Giants, I'm not really that concerned about as much. Cowboys are typical. Cowboys will probably make the playoffs.
And then losing the wild card.
But it's kind of like the Eagles are 2-2. I think the Cowboys. We got to see this game on Sunday to see. But yeah, I'm going for the Ravens in this game. But if the Commanders win, for the rest of the season, 100% on board with the Washington Commanders and Captain Tutty. Did you see Captain Tutty?
No.
Captain Tutty is a mascot that they have.
Captain Tutty?
Yeah, I think it's like a pig or something. I'll put a graphic up here because instead of a commander, he's like a captain, and Tutty like touchdown, I think.
That is so cool.
It's something different. It was like, okay, Captain Tutty. Before closing out, I want to give a shout out to my son 98 and his team. They put a beat down 35-7 on an opposing team at their stadium. So shout out to y'all, and I wish you guys good luck on the game coming up this week. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll let the people get out of here. Go ahead and close this out, 98.
All right. We thank you for spending your time with the Dark Spirits Dark Sports podcast. Have a great morning, afternoon, or night whenever you are listening this to, and we hope to see you all next week when we cover a bunch of other stuff, like mainly making fun of the Giants again.